All right, click the links to join my channel here over at SubStars. So fat, ugly people get triggered. And in this case, it's mostly women who are getting triggered. So my theory is that communism is really kind of founded in resentment, and it's the American version of it is because everyone here is fat. It's just kind of the difference between like mildly chubby to being ginormously, having your own moons type of fat. Is it's just kind of like fat ugly people, and if they can have a reason to get triggered by a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sydney Sweeney, well, they're gonna take advantage of that to get on Twitter and virtue signal as much as possible. So I think we have a lot of lost people who need structure that is just not available in this current Weimar version of America. So if you're not looking at the screen, these are Guess ads from the 1990s where they're selling clothing. So they have models wearing the clothing, and it's just as simple as that. And the other example is going to be Jaguar, as I mentioned a couple days ago, where they had a new advertising campaign, and it looked like a bunch of freaks kind of out of a Devo video where they're dressed up like clowns to sell a new electric car, which doesn't make sense. So this image on the screen is a car commercial from the 60s where it's just a person standing next to the car, and that was pretty much standard. If you like the looks of the car, you're going to investigate further, and that was it. Instead, the change in the past 60 years has been like blue hair signals to people. And woke advertising is signaling to people. Though in the case of Jaguar, I think you're signaling to people who have, not that there's not woke people who buy Jags or right-wing people, it's just that aspect of marketing has no appeal to them. That's not why they're looking at cars. So Sydney Sweeney, the initials SS, models her new Hugo Boss pants, and she triggers a lot of fat and or ugly women. And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of fat, ugly men on the left as well. But in this case, it seems to be just women who are, oh, you know what? Probably because if the left-wing soy boys went after a woman, then the left-wing women would then go after the man for some reason. So I think left-wing men know to stay in their lane, where people on the right just go all over the place, and we're constantly fighting with each other. So these women get online and they virtue signal about the dog whistles from a American Eagle, which is an Israeli company. And I guess if they called themselves Israel Eagle, it probably wouldn't be too popular, because that's another kind of like fad for the left-wing kids, is to virtue signal about Israel and Palestine when they're not busy virtue signaling about Russia and Ukraine. It's like it's just one thing after another. And you go, so you're gonna like ever do anything other than I walk by one of those signs that people have out on their front lawns, like in this house we believe whatever, and you go, that is a perfect virtue signal, because it means nothing, because the person is not doing anything behind the sign. If they're actually doing something, they wouldn't need the sign. It's like you just paid $10 for a sign, you put it in your front yard, but like you never actually have to do anything. So she's modeling her new clothes, and she's triggering a lot of really super sensitive left-wingers. And the other thing is, like, to look at these fat, ugly women, do they really believe it, or have they talked themselves into being outraged, but are they really outraged? And then the other thing is, like, well, it's kind of form follows function. If they psychologically kind of placebo themselves into being outraged over something because they think they should be outraged over something, then are they really outraged? And a lot of them probably are, because they're that mind warped. And maybe calling them ugly is too harsh, though I don't think any of them are listening to this. I think they're in desperate need of a neurotransmitter boost, the dopamine and serotonin, and they're just going to make stupid videos to get attention. And so they desperately look. It's like Book Talk. It's these left-wing chicks, and in Book Talk case, it is all chicks, maybe a few gay men, who are looking for any faux pas, politically incorrect faux pas in modern books, and so they can make a TikTok video over it to virtue signal about finding some, I don't know, and it's not even something like somebody's dropping an epithet or something like that. It's way more subtle than that. In fact, they can do it to the point where they get people to cancel their books, or sometimes writers, not even pressured by the publisher, will pull their books so they can virtue signal. It's like, yeah, you gave up like a good chunk of change just for like a dopamine rush. that's to be fair, that's kind of like, this was kind of like 2015 energy. I don't know if the left is quite has that kind of dedication anymore. So the terminally online TikTok chicks, and that seems to be the source. Maybe, we should have nuked TikTok, the source of it all. They feel a need to virtue signal and are mad at this girl in the advertisements who just came off the Madame Web movie because she's thin and blonde. And the thing is, to sum up the left, you can just kind of settle on, I think, one word, and that's resentment. So they take their probably sexual frustration, because if you look at these women who are angry at this chick, I'm guessing here's the thing: people who are in relationships and getting what they need, they just don't have this kind of anger that a lot of these, I'm assuming, single women have, and the same goes for the left-wing soy boys as well. So they take this frustration out on this thin blonde girl, and not the Israeli/Nazi company. No, it doesn't have to make sense, but in their mind, like Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro, or might as well be in Hugo Boss. And people are naively thinking that woke ads are dead, and they're comparing Jaguar's horrible trans electric car advertisement with a bunch of like BLT, rainbow flag type of people with stupid haircuts. No, woke is not going anywhere. It's all just layers to woke. So they're bringing back the vibe of the 80s, the Guess ads, but that's just kind of another level of Weimar. In a way, it's kind of worse because the right wing is forced to cheer that on, and the MAGA crowd is proud to have these bikini models wearing like American flag bikinis, and they think, oh, well, we're owning the libs by out-whoring them. And it's kind of a tough call, because nobody ever just pauses and go, wait a minute, do we want to do this? Do we want to sexualize everything? Do we want to have everything sexualized on TV for little kids to see? I mean, maybe there's a middle ground with not prudence, what's the word I'm looking for? So what happened was, where women wear dresses, and I mean, is there anything sexier than a sundress? So what happened was, for a few years, we had the fattest, ugliest people selling everything, including this Israeli-American Eagle company. They had a bunch of 300-pound Hambeasts in underwear that would enough material to make a dress for a healthy 105-pound woman. And then, believe it or not, yes, women used to actually weigh 100 to 120 pounds. And this actually started kind of about 15 years ago, when fitness magazines started putting obese, unfit people, women actually. I know it sounds like I'm going after women, but it's like they marketed this to women, and all that fat acceptance type of stuff, that was almost all women, and then a couple of gay men. And you got to look at that. Nobody goes, well, wait a minute. How come you're not pushing straight, obese men in your advertisements? It's because they would just get laughed at. Nobody actually believes any of this kind of stuff. And if you've got a 300-pound woman on a magazine cover, no, I mean, gaslighting only goes so far. So their goal was to push obesity. And obviously their goal is to lower white birth rates by making women as ugly as possible. And people didn't really compare that to obese marketing. They didn't really make that connection, because not even fat people want to be fat. You're gonna have a hard time selling. That's the one aspect of this gaslighting crystal facet that is probably the most impossible to sell. You can't have a fat woman on stage. Who is that one, Kelly Drinkwater or something? That video is still up on YouTube, where it's fat activists on stage, and she's out of breath, trying to waddle around up on stage, explain how you're fat phobic for not wanting to roll her in flour and go for the wet spot. There's no fitness at every size. That's all just gaslighting, and it's the most dangerous type of gaslighting. It would be like pushing, oh no, you understand. It's like there's reasonable heroin use. Not really. I mean, it's just not something you should be pushing. And then what happens with the fat activists is they die a few years later. So it's not selling too well. It's almost all women for some reason too. So as a consequence, Jaguar had to fire 500 people because they killed sales so badly. And this clothing company had a $1 billion stock increase because they went in the other direction. They're going anti-woke. They're going which way the wind is blowing. And the woke, unattractive, not conventionally attractive women on Twitter and social media are saying, well, it's a Nazi dog whistle. Except it's literally an Israeli company run by like a Silverman and a Goldberg or something. And they, like, these TikTok people never stop to like look at who's the parent company, the holding company, the, you know, who the majority shareholders type of stuff. So the thing is, this company, American Eagle, like, they know what they're doing with the eugenics type of dog whistle. They're joking. They're just trolling the left wing to get people to talk about their clothing, and it absolutely worked. I don't know if their pants are good or not. I think it was like it was some kind of thing for charity, like they're selling the pants for $90 and it's donated to some kind of women's shelter or something. And as it turns out, all it takes is a thin blonde with huge milkers to sell clothing. It's like, well, that's been understood for as long as they had clothing. And then the issue that they just want to assume is bad about genes and eugenics. I'm not sure why fat, ugly people are triggered by this. Why wouldn't you want to breed DNA to improve the human race and get rid of all the unnecessary stuff and people? I mean, do we really need? Anyway, so I thought the left wing loves science. They get even more triggered when you say the obvious and pretend not to understand why they're so triggered about the eugenics type of stuff. And you look at them like, yeah, I mean, if we had like selective breeding, we just wouldn't have a lot of these people on the left. So there's some community forming in Arkansas, and there's like a few dozen white people who are out doing their own thing. They're not hurting anyone, like all these other groups have in their communities. You get blacks and Jews and Asians and Latins. They all have their own little communities, and people just look at that and go, "Oh, hey, great, have a good time. You know, knock yourself out. Nobody cares." But it's like when that that Arkansas group for whites did their thing, you've got like Republican Congress people looking to find a way to shut it down on federal violations, and you look at them like, if this isn't a virtue signal, what is? How come when the blacks start their own community, nobody says a friggin' word? It's absolutely bizarre. And the Twitter virtue signals are losing their mind over these evil, hateful people, and you ask them why. Like, if you hate them so much or they're so evil, why would you want to live around them? The left gets mad at people just so they can virtue signal online. And a lot of this is like first world problems, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. And a blonde with huge milkers absolutely makes them insane. And here's the thing. Skinny, blonde, tits, blue eyes, those are the best genes with a G. At least it's a fair statement of opinion, but it's one shared pretty much around the world, because that body is unique. It's an ultimate rare minority. I mean, I guess green eyes and red hair would be even more. And it's not just, but the thing is, you know, how often are you seeing blonde hair, blue eyed girls in commercials? You got to go back to the Guess ads, the 90s. And it's not just me saying this, that, you know, light hair, light eyes are the Ubermensch, which they are. It's also the rest of the world that finds us, rightfully so. So it's just so beautiful. Most of the world is all kind of the same, where it's just hard to, it's just not things. It's just not as special as, you know, light hair, light eyes. It's, you know, talk about like people of color and the true diversity. It's like, oh, it would be European people. There's nobody who's got more diversity of physiognomy features than Europeans, and it kind of looks like, you know, Nons are kind of like NPCs, you know, if I'm being honest. No offense. Anyway, so if it was just that kind of ugly science experiment girl from Dune, what's the chick's name? I think she was in Spider-Man or something. She gave some lecture about the Washington Monument or something. They're like, why would you put that in a movie? Nobody gives two shits about that. So they would love that chick if she was doing these kind of jeans commercials. Though I don't know if they'd use the same phrasing, because, you know, about jeans with a G, because it wouldn't really make sense. The other thing is the fat liberal army is outraged that Sydney Sweeney is, in their words, sexualizing herself to sell clothes. And they're not mad at American Eagle, the company, or the people who are in charge of the advertising. And the thing is, if it was a non-Aryan looking woman, they would just say, well, she's empowered and living her truth, taking back her sexuality, or just a bunch of like cultural Marxist buzzwords. It really is just as simple as they just hate northern, Western European people, the Scandinavian looking types. And the top of the food chain are the light hair, light-eyed people. And I mean, that's the view of the left, because they're the ones who are given power to this concept of some groups are better than others. This is much more common in the left wing, where even in the far right, people don't obsess about it as much as they do on the left. It's just a matter of preference. Much of what the left wing does is to project their insecurity onto the right wing, because a lot of the left really are fat, ugly, jealous people who hate themselves, and they're angry at their family. They want the world to be a certain way, and they go further and further in denying that reality, and they have to like 1984 keep these two thoughts in their head simultaneously, even though they contradict each other. And they go, oh no, we're not gonna, how come you like the Cincinnati Jazz Fest, you're gonna go hang out? And they look at that situation, they're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna go to that. Oh, how come you're not, why are you avoiding that? And they go, oh, it's too dangerous, too much crime. You go, oh, so you want to go into any details about that? And obviously they don't. They'll just make something up, because it's that cognitive dissonance that they like. If they could put it away, then that would be their red pill moment. Like, to actually look at the truth, look at the reality of why they don't go to certain cities or certain areas or certain events anymore. It's like, it's too dangerous. Anyway, and there are studies that show that the white liberals are the only group that have out-group preference. Everyone else is race preference first. It's only white liberals that have been brainwashed. And the Starship Troopers concept keeps coming back, where it seems like the left is on the left because they really do just resent good-looking, healthy people, like the quote-unquote fascists in Starship Troopers with jawlines and cheekbones. So they try to make everyone ugly like themselves. In fact, there's something going around with the left wing. They go, we got to gear up for the coming Civil War and get in shape and start training. And they're like, yikes, my guy, way to body shame us. Or they go, you're going to have to start training with Liberty devices. And there's a whole thing about, yeah, we can't keep those around the house because we'll remove ourselves from the mortal coil with them. So they have to accept all body sizes. And you're like, how are you going to fight a civil war if you're 300 pounds? Like, it doesn't, how are you going to, right or the left, you got to be able to go up a flight of stairs. Anyway, so in movies like Starship Troopers, the idiot director tried to parody the jingoism of nationalism, but it all falls apart because it's not a left or a right thing in terms of propaganda. The communists had the same stupid propaganda as the people on the right. Every side, every army, every military has propaganda. And it's all usually heavy-handed and stupid. And to portray the fascists, they had to use healthy, fun, attractive people. Because there's a thing where you can take a group of people and you can divide them into who you think's on the right or who you think's on the left, just based on visuals. And it's not a random division. There really is you can really look at some people and go, well, obviously the blue-haired nose rings types are more likely to be on the left. But it really is like, good-looking, tall, thin people who take care of themselves are going to be more often on the right. And there's something like what you put out in the universe is what you get back. And the left wing is like, it's just that liar worm-tongue guy in Lord of the Rings, just this wormy, slimy creature putting out just venom into the world. And then they get triggered when people start to put it back. So fascists to the left are all, chiseled cheekbones, male model types. And though in Starship Troopers, I think that it was a diverse group of fascists, which didn't really make sense. And in the Star Wars, was it Andor, where they're trying to portray the British Empire, but because they have to put diversity in everything, the bad guys who had the British accents, the lead girl is a blonde with like razor sharp jawline, cheekbone, which is, in their mind, World War II Nazi movies type of stuff. But then there were some black guys too, who, because they had to put diversity on both sides, so it kind of weakens the message, which is why the motivation for the characters in the movies is kind of sloppy, because they tie themselves into these knots with wokeism. So the globalists in that movie were represented by the disgusting insects, because that's how the left wing sees themselves, as filthy bug people. Probably also with some hive mind symbolism in there. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.